The lunchtime crowd filled the upscale fast food bistro with chatter, laughter, and the smell of truffle fries and gourmet burgers. Suits and ties sat at long tables under industrial chic pendant lights, sipping sparkling water and tapping at phones between bites. In the far corner, a sharply dressed man named Maxwell Hartley, CEO of a national restaurant chain, sat, flanked by his regional directors, discussing expansion strategies over lunch. His plate was immaculate. A juicy Angus burger sliced clean down the middle, fries stacked like gold bars beside it. At a nearby table, a child watched, small, maybe 7 years old. Thin arms faded yellow, t-shirt 2 sizes too big, shoes scuffed, one lace missing. She didn't speak, she didn't cry. She just stared eyes wide, lips pressed tight at Maxwell's plate, like it was the only thing in the room. A few patrons noticed her, most looked away. Others frowned, assuming someone would soon escort her out, but she stayed still, silent. Maxwell didn't notice her at first. He was too busy breaking down quarterly figures, and if we consolidate the urban branches, we increase profit margins by. That's when she stepped forward. Small footsteps across the polished concrete floor. Maxwell paused mid. The child reached his table and looked up. Her voice barely rose above the music, playing softly overhead. "Please, sir, just one fry?" The room froze. Forks halted midair. Conversations paused. Even the waiter carrying a tray stopped in his tracks. Maxwell looked down, stunned. The girl's hand was outstretched, tiny, shaking, hopeful. He opened his mouth, then closed it. Everyone waited. A whisper ran through the dining room like a breeze through leaves. Who was she? Where was her mother? Why was she alone? A woman in a beige trench coat near the front scowled and muttered, "Some people have no boundaries." A man in business casual whispered, "She's probably part of some scam." But Maxwell Hartley once a poor foster kid from the south side of Detroit. Now a self-made restaurant mogul did something no one expected. He stood, he looked across the room, then back at the girl. Then he said, loud and clear, "Everyone, stop eating." A gasp. The forks dropped. Maxwell turned to the girl, knelt to her level, and softly asked, "What's your name?" The girl hesitated. Lila, he said, setting his linen napkin on the table. "You just reminded me of something very important." He rose to his feet, turned to his stunned executive team, and said, "Lunch is over. Cancel the meeting." Then to the entire dining room. "Who here's ever gone hungry and been too proud to ask?" The silence was deafening. Maxwell looked back at Lila. "And she just reminded me of that." He picked up his plate, then held it out to her. "Would you like to sit with me?" Lila blinked, nodded, and just like that, the man who built an empire on gourmet fries invited a little girl who had nothing. But what Maxwell didn't know was that this little girl was carrying a secret that would change his life forever. Lila sat across from Maxwell at table 12, the same corner booth, where his executives had just been discussing billion-dollar expansions. Now, it was quiet. The team had dispersed, some still whispering in the background, confused by what had just happened. The CEO had canceled their meeting, for a child. Maxwell slid the plate toward her. "Eat as much as you want." She hesitated, hands hovering over the fries like they might disappear. He noticed the dirt under her nails, the way she winced slightly as she sat down, like her small frame wasn't used to soft chairs. Something inside him twisted. She finally picked up one fry, then another, still cautious. Maxwell called for his assistant. "June, can we get her something warm? A burger, a drink?" June raised an eyebrow but nodded. "Of course, sir." As they waited, Maxwell leaned forward. "Lila, where's your mom?" The girl froze, chewing slowly. She shrugged. "You with someone?" She shook her head. Maxwell frowned. "Are you lost?" "No," she said. The new food arrived quickly, steaming and stacked high. Lila's eyes widened, but she didn't speak. She ate like someone who hadn't had a real meal in days. Maxwell glanced at June, then whispered, "Can you check nearby shelters? Missing persons? Anything?" June nodded and slipped away with her phone. "Lila," he said gently, "how did you get here?" "I walked," she said between bites. "It wasn't far." "From where? A place? It had beds? But it was cold. And loud. I don't like the man there." Maxwell's hands curled into fists under the table. When she finished eating, she wiped her mouth with the back of her hand and gave him a small, tired smile. "Thank you," she whispered. Maxwell reached into his jacket, pulling out a business card. "This is my name. You can keep it. If anyone ever tries to hurt you again, you call me." "Okay," Lila nodded. June returned with a strange look on her face. She leaned in close. "Sir, no missing child report matching her description. No shelters nearby have her name. No one's looking." Maxwell turned back to the girl. "Do you know your last name?" She hesitated, then whispered, "Ellis." Maxwell froze. Ellis? He hadn't heard that name in over 20 years. Not since the day his foster brother disappeared. Maxwell Hartley hadn't always been a CEO. Once, long ago, he was just Max Ellis, a scrawny boy living in a group home on the edge of Detroit. Passed around. There was only one other person in that home who made life bearable. His foster brother, Jordan Ellis. Older, braver, protective. The kind of boy who took punches so Max wouldn't have to. And then one day he was gone. Run away, the staff had said, but Max never believed it. He'd spent years searching, quietly. Every spare dollar in college went toward databases, archives, phone calls to shelters. Nothing. Eventually, he gave up. Until now. Max stared at Lila, heart pounding. "What's your dad's name?" he asked, voice barely steady. She blinked. "I never met him." "Your mom? What did she call him?" "I don't know." She shrugged. She said he was trouble. Max took a breath. "Do you have anything with you? A backpack? Paper? Anything?" Lila nodded slowly and dug into her oversized coat. From an inner pocket, she pulled out a torn envelope. It was wrinkled. The corners on the front, one word, Jordan. Max felt the world tilt. He reached for it with trembling fingers, opened it carefully. Inside was a photograph, faded, cracked. Two boys, arms around each other, one missing a tooth, the other smiling protectively. It was them. His breath caught. "Where did you get this?" he asked, voice hoarse. "My mom had it in a drawer. She told me it was my dad." "That's him, right?" Max nodded slowly. "That's Jordan. That's me." Lila's eyes widened. "Your Uncle Max?" He hadn't heard that name in years. Tears blurred his vision. "Yes," he whispered. "I think I am." The restaurant had emptied. Hours had passed unnoticed. The soft hum of dishwashers replaced the lunch crowd. June had canceled Maxwell's afternoon schedule. No one dared question why. Maxwell and Lila sat in the quiet corner, the envelope between them. He turned to June. "I need a car, and someone to find out where Lila's been staying." "I already ran the address she gave me," June said, voice low. "A rundown motel near 3rd and Mayfield. No registered guests. Place is known for drugs, not families." Max's jaw tightened. Lila looked up. "Please don't make me go back there." "You won't," he promised. "But what if they find me?" "Then they'll deal with me." She hesitated. "Can I stay with you?" It was a question that pierced deeper than anything. Maxwell had every luxury, properties, cars, a legacy built on control, but he'd never had family. He thought for a long moment, then nodded. "You'll stay with me? Just until we figure things out." That night, Maxwell drove her himself in his black SUV. She sat beside him, clutching a paper bag with a photo and envelope inside. His penthouse was modern, cold until she walked in. She looked around like she'd entered a palace, carefully removed her shoes, tiptoed on the marble floors, stared at the city lights from the tall windows. "Is this all yours?" she whispered. "It is. It's really quiet. Do you want music?" "No," she said. "I like the quiet." He fixed her a hot cup of cocoa and let her sleep in the guest room. That night, as he stood outside the door listening to her breathe softly, something shifted in him. She wasn't just a child who wandered in off the street. She was a thread one that had unraveled the walls he'd spent decades building. And somewhere out there, Jordan Ellis might still be alive. The next morning, Max made 2 calls. The first, to his legal team. "I need emergency guardianship," quietly. The second, to a private investigator he hadn't used in years. "I want everything on Jordan Ellis. Where he went, who he married, if he's still alive." Then he made pancakes. Lila giggled as he tried to flip them without breaking them in half. "You're not very good at this," she teased. "I run 30 restaurants," he muttered. "I just don't cook in them," she grinned. For a moment, the penthouse didn't feel so cold. Later that day, the investigator called back. "I've got something," he said. "Your brother Jordan, he changed his name." Max's breath caught. "Go on." "Jordan Ellis is now Jordan Campbell. He was incarcerated 10 years ago for burglary, got out 5 years ago, moved to Texas, married a woman named Lacey. She passed away 3 years ago. Their daughter Lila. Why didn't he reach out? No contact info left behind. No living relatives in the system. He vanished again 2 years ago. Homeless shelters, rehab, spotty trail." Max hung up, shaken. He looked at Lila, curled on the couch, reading a picture book. She had no idea. He crossed the room, knelt down, and said gently, "Lila, do you know what happened to your dad?" She shrugged. "Mom said he made a lot of mistakes. She said he used to be good." Then something broke. Max felt the weight of old wounds settle in. "But I have you now," she added brightly. "And you make really bad pancakes." He laughed, and cried a little, too. Because Lila hadn't just walked into his restaurant that day. She'd walked into the only part of his heart that still hoped. It had been 2 weeks. Lila was thriving. New clothes, warm food, school registration in progress. Max's staff had adjusted quickly. June now kept a coloring book beside her reports. The receptionist greeted Lila by name. Then, one morning a call came in. "Mr. Hartley," June said softly. "There's someone downstairs asking for you. Says his name is Jordan." Max's world tilted. He raced to the lobby, heart hammering. And there he was. Older, thinner, hair graying at the temples, but it was him. Jordan. Max stared, speechless. Jordan looked down. "I didn't know where else to go. I saw the article about the girl and the fries." He pulled out a newspaper, folded, worn, front page. "Please, sir, just one fry. CEO Holt's meeting to feed hungry child. Jordan's hands shook. I didn't think you'd recognize her. But when I saw the photo, Max stepped forward, voice tight. Why didn't you reach out? I was ashamed, Jordan whispered. After Lacey died, I fell apart. I couldn't provide, couldn't think. I left Lila with a neighbor, promised I'd come back. I never did. Max's fists clenched. She begged for fries, Jordan. She begged. I know, he said. Behind him, a small voice cried out, Daddy. They both turned. Lila stood at the top of the lobby stairs, eyes wide. Jordan dropped to his knees. She ran into his arms. Max watched, heart torn in two. He had gained a daughter, but she already had a father, and what happened next would change all their lives again.